Donald Trump is losing a lot in court, even though he's made the DOJ more partisan this term than during his first term, when he had an attorney general who actually followed the binding DOJ rules. That led to the appointment of special counsel Mueller, for example, who just passed away last weekend, the end of a legal era. That's relevant because the current DOJ and FBI leaders blatantly break rules. A.G. Bondi, accused of breaking the Epstein law, of lying to the public, of misleading Congress. The FBI director you see there, his behavior kind of speaks for itself. So she and the FBI are going after Trump's enemies list, probing and indicting the people that Trump publicly demands. You can see the results here. Now, that can be illegal itself, but they've done it so incompetently that they keep losing. The green stamps show cases that have already fallen apart and been tossed. Trump's DOJ has had these cases stumble at early stages, lose. Sometimes Bondi's chosen prosecutors actually fail so badly they've lost their own entire DOJ jobs in the process. Courts disqualifying them because they didn't get the required Senate approval to hold the job permanently. Now, that's bad. DOJ keeps losing. They should be chastened. They should follow the rulings and the law. But instead, A.G. Bondi has been going full Aaliyah. If at first DOJ don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. Try again. Bondi is trying again on the losing quest to convict former FBI Director Comey. The news tonight is I've ginned up a new subpoena. That's after Trump's current AG and FBI Director failed to build a valid case against him before, let alone win it. Keep in mind, the current FBI Director under Trump is literally trying to jail the former FBI Director on thin, sometimes meaningless, baseless charges. Ditto for New York Attorney General James. The Fed's trying again, Aaliyah style, after their last case was dismissed at the start. Now, evidence suggests these cases are illegal selective prosecution. And it's not just this lane. Trump is also losing cases on policy. His signature tariffs, of course, smacked down by the Supreme Court. That included his own appointees ruling that he was powerless under law to do that kind of trade war without Congress. That's just the law. Trump responding by saying he's, quote, sickened by those judges' independence. Basically, that because they're doing a judicial job, what they're supposed to do, rather than being his blind partisans, that's a problem. And he falsely claims the judges have become some kind of criminal if they rule against him.
We got rogue judges that are criminals. They're criminals. What they do to our country, the decisions that they hand down and hurt our country. And not that it matters, doesn't matter at all. But two of the people that voted for that, I appointed, and they sicken me.
Doesn't matter at all, but he's giving a speech about it. It doesn't matter, but he's sickened. You're seeing failure and loss in public from someone who's, for all of his vaunted PR tactics employs, he's currently maybe not very disciplined or effective at holding back the conflicting message, the anger, the loss. Now, he's gone beyond just that complaint. He's pitching an actual bill that would try to target what he calls rogue judges, while Bondi's deputy blames judges for their losses and admits plans to try to move cases to more friendly MAGA areas.
We see our most activist judges that we lose to every single day are, without a doubt, nothing more than an extension of the partisan arm of which they came from. There's a lot of ways that we can work within that to get some of our cases where we want them to be, where we're going to have a judge that we know is going to be fair.
So he admits they're losing and they want a judge shop. The DOJ is also now paying former defendants from the Mueller probe. Mueller, of course, back in the news this past week with his passing. They are handing over $1 million to a Trump vet, you might recall, Michael Flynn, claiming that Mueller wrongly prosecuted him over false statements. Of course, Flynn was a grown-up, and he pled guilty in that very case. The payment, an extraordinary effort of relief for Trump allies, the New York Times notes. Now, does Trump really suddenly care about getting some money to a former aide? It's your taxpayer money, by the way, but we're talking about someone, Donald Trump, who's long stiffed his own employees and aides when it comes to money. Or is this more about setting a precedent to enrich himself, to get that kind of payment to himself? We keep track of this, even if sometimes it's all a little bit of a blizzard. So let me remind you, to his great shame and loss, Donald Trump tried and failed to ram through a plan to pilfer a whopping $230 million of taxpayer money this term, using a similar format as this brand new Flynn payment, that the DOJ should reimburse him for his own mistakes that led to those probes. Now, Trump failed to get that done so far. Even his partisan DOJ opposed approving something that was a legal conflict of interest that judges might quickly block. Experts, if you're curious, also said that the federal law they were citing actually bans that kind of large punitive damage payment, if you're keeping track. And Republicans viewed it as a kind of political suicide to take that much money from the public and put it in Trump's pocket while he's the sitting president. No president's ever done that. And yet now the Trump DOJ seems oddly interested again in pushing a similar MAGA-enriching legal theory. Dust yourself off and try again, if you will.